Virginia Attorney General Mark Herring says he wore blackface at college party.
Jesus, these are blackface-loving guys.
So Virginia Governor Ralph Northam did it, and now apparently Virginia Attorney General Mark Herring also says that he's done it.
Dude, how many politicians right now in the Deep South are shitting their pants at this new information
What happens when my blackface pictures
I want
come out?
all of my fucking yearbooks collected. I want you to purchase all of them that you can get and burn them.
Get every copy of that yearbook and burn it.
Because I'm dressed like a black mammy in half of them fucking photos, man. I can't do
Remember
this.
Little Black Sambos? I used to go there as a child. Boy, I dressed up with his every year. Every year I was a Little Black Sambo.
Virginia sank deeper into political turmoil Wednesday when another top Democrat, Attorney General Mark Herring, admitted putting on blackface in the 1980s when he was a college student. With Governor Ralph Northam's career in extreme peril over a racist photo in his 1984 medical school yearbook, Herring issued a statement saying he wore brown makeup and a wig in 1980 to look like a rapper during a party as a 19-year-old at the University of Virginia. Herring, 57, said he was deeply, deeply sorry for the pain he that he causes with this revelation. Basically,
if he would have just waited till like 1996, he could have won his Eminem.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and avoided all this shit.
Had your youth in the wrong era.
Yep.
I think it's kind of really fucking bizarre to me to hold someone at the age of 57 accountable for something that is really not that big of a deal, if we're going to be honest, that they did when they were the age of 19.
Let me take the devil's advocate position.
Take the devil's advocate position.
This dude is the governor of a state.
Well, this guy's the attorney general.
Whatever. A governor also did this.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
These guys are in states that are like have huge black populations.
Right.
And there's economic disparity in those black populations. And then it comes out that you've got a governor that at one point thought so little of the black community that he decided to do something that is like, look, I don't think it's a huge deal putting on fucking blackface, but it is a direct fuck you to black people because the history of it is the minstrelsy.
Yeah. Right.
And lampooning these people by smearing shit on your face is not exactly the most respectful thing you can do.
Sure.
Based on something they had no choice in. They didn't choose their fucking melanin.
I mean, put yourself in the headspace of like a 19-year-old at a fucking, college party in 1980. And it's a very different context than doing that, today.
Right.
Or to do that as a fully developed adult consciousness.
I'm
not saying that it's a good thing to do or whatever. I'm just saying that it's kind of weird to me to take something that happened in 1980 that was done by a teenager and say, well, even now at the age of 57, you still need to answer for these
the question is,
crimes against political correctness.
Yeah, do you want to retroactively apply cultural standards? And I mean, some people do and some people don't. That's why some people look at statues of, like, let's say Thomas Jefferson or George Washington and go, slave-owning racist pieces of shit. Why are we fucking promoting these people?
I think it's a muddy issue, though.
Well, it is.
Because on one end, I agree with you. If I was judged for some of the shit I said and done at 19, I was never in blackface, but you know what I mean? I probably said some pretty off-color shit at 19 that if I was called to account for it now, it would be pretty hard for me to do. On the other hand, I'm not running a fucking community.
Yeah, you're not.
I'm not running a state. I don't have constituents, right? So what I thought when I was 19 isn't really of note. But what he thought at 19, yeah, there's a good chance that in the intervening years he's grown as a person, and in fact that's what he says.
I mean, you could look at the history of blackface and say, look, it is racist, but just because someone does it doesn't necessarily 100% mean that they intended to be racist,
right?
I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying it, but we have to remember there has to be more nuance. Like it's like when you talk about these issues, it's almost always presented as just this person is obviously a closet racist, and that could be true. And I'm not dismissing that as a possibility, but to simply just say this is racism and that's it, and that's all it is. It's kind of like when you look at the Bible or making pronouncements of the Bible. It's like you're setting an established fact, and that's it. And once you can't question something anymore, you can't talk about it anymore, and it becomes a closed issue where we can't discuss this and have come to some sort of conclusion that is maybe a little bit more nuanced and thoughtful as opposed to just doing this knee-jerk reaction that a lot of people are just in favor of now. And look, I understand why people are offended by it, but being offended isn't enough. It's not enough to say, well, I'm just offended by something, so now therefore this issue is off limits, or we can't talk about this without just saying capitulation to these ideas. I mean, look, I understand why people are offended. I get what you're saying. This guy represents a lot of people.
A lot of black people.
And a lot of black people.
And if it is reflective of a continuing
that's an issue
racial bias, then that's a fucking huge issue.
It is a huge issue. I agree with you. I don't think it should be dismissed, but it needs to be discussed.
Yeah, and I think it needs to be discussed in the proper fucking context. Like, hey, what was the intent when you did this? What was your mentality at the time? How has your mentality evolved since then, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. That's deeply, deeply sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like, we need something.
I mean, that's probably not his full statement.
We need something more than just a superficial "sorry for the pain I caused." Like, can we actually have like
how about a frank talk about
about this shit?
When I was 19, I was insensitive to the plight of black people, and I did it as a jokey thing, and I didn't realize that at that time I wasn't thinking about the history of minstrelsy and just the kind of degradation of painting your face up to look like somebody else. And now I repudiate that. I would never do that as an adult. It's something that I'm ashamed of, and
Yeah, I kind of wonder, why is it that so many people who've done blackface, like I pointed out in a video where I was talking about this previously, that you can go find pictures of Dan Aykroyd in blackface from trading places,
Right, but that's a movie,
right?
Done for comedic effect,
right? I mean, but like you could. I think that probably, when these kids were doing this, like, oh, we're so edgy, look, right. I think there was probably an element of comedy there as well.
And Robert Downey Jr. did it, 10 years ago?
I mean, they were kind of making fun of the insensitivity of doing blackface with that.
But I mean, you could still argue
some people were still in
he was still in blackface, though. You can say it's satirical.
So I don't know that
or whatever.
I don't know that you can always just point to like, oh, well, the history of minstrelsy. I mean, like, yeah, okay, but that was one context. The context of blackface during minstrelsy versus the context of blackface in the 80s versus the context of blackface today. Those are three entirely different fucking things.
Yeah.
And we can't just treat them all like it's one continuous, it's exactly the same in any era. It's not. It's just not. But, I do think that, this kind of thing, obviously it hurts people and stuff. And, I'm not super honestly sympathetic.
Would you do it?
No, but only because I'd be fucking roasted for it.
I mean, would you do it if you weren't going to get immediately roasted?
Well, then there'd be no point in doing it. But look, if it was just if there was a culture that was totally neutral towards blackface, then I guess I would do it if I felt like it was applicable, like I was playing a black character or something.
Right.
If I needed I'm gonna make up a black character in my videos. If it was just no one cared, it was okay to do. Then, maybe. But, I mean, then there wouldn't be any edge to it. It would just be, a decision based on
the problem with the Huffington
character.
Post and their take on this, if you inevitably just read the whole article, is just that they're not doing that because they're wanting to critically examine this issue. They're doing it because they want this headline to go, this guy's a racist. And we all know that's the conclusion that they're going to want you to draw. And I mean,
that very well may be the
and that may be the true
conclusion, but we don't know that. We don't have a fucking window into this dude's head. And like I said, I am a completely different person now at 38 than I was at 19.
Well, here's
years
what
old.
he basically says. He says that conduct clearly shows that as a young man, I had a callous and inexcusable lack of awareness and insensitivity to the pain my behavior could inflict on others. He also said, this conduct is in no way reflective of the man I have become in the nearly 40 years since.
Then for me, I got to be honest with you, that's it. Because you know what? We have no choice but to take this man at his word. Now, if he continues, if he's behind a bunch of racist policy that I don't know about, then
right.
Obviously I take this back. Or if he goes forward with a bunch of obviously racist policies in the future. But for what this is, for the casual passerby observer, which we are, this dude got caught doing something when he was 19 years old that was stupid and insensitive. He's a fucking 58-year-old man now, and he shouldn't. We should give him the benefit of the doubt that we give ourselves.
Right.
Nobody thinks that they should be held to account for what they thought when they were a teenager.
Right.
So I'm willing to give that to this man based on knowing nothing about his policy.
Right, exactly. But, like I said, or like Paul said, If it turns out that there's a bunch of racist bullshit on this guy's record
I mean,
as a politician in power, then that's a different story. Then it just becomes...
If there's a singular issue, then, I mean, you have to give someone the benefit of the doubt, I feel. And I feel it's almost unfair. It's like, oh, these people must resign. They must resign. They must resign. It's like, well, if they've done one thing and it's so long ago, I just don't see why they should resign for it unless there's a pattern of it or there's something else you can point to. If you can only point to this one thing, you're saying that no one deserves a second chance, then what about all those people that are in prison that have committed crimes? They don't deserve a second chance either? Oh, well, this person did something bad. Well, nope, that's it. They did one bad thing in their life. Fuck them. Write them off. That's it. And that's the wrong attitude to have in this country. And people wonder why so many people are in prison because people act this way. You do one bad thing, and I'm not saying this is necessarily this did one bad thing. I mean, like, obviously, like you said, there could be more that comes out. But in the context of this, if you're just going to dismiss someone for one bad thing they did, then you're not really about forgiveness, and you're really just complicit in this culture of just
not
totally...
only that, but you're defending a paradigm of, like, people should be held to account for shit that they said or did when their brains weren't even fully developed into adults yet. It's just retarded.
What if someone comes out now about someone who's a leader that, they were 10 years old and they said
when
this
I was
thing.
12, I pulled my dick out on the train. Must resign. You know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah, it's stupid.